Hello, my friend. Welcome to tonight's story. Before we set out on this journey together, find a place where you can rest, somewhere warm, quiet, and safe. Allow the world outside to fade for a while. Let the gentle rhythm of your breath guide you inward, away from the noise toward a place of calm. Tonight I will share with you the life and teachings of one of history's most luminous figures, the Buddha. Not as a distant legend carved in stone, but as a living presence, a seeker who once walked among us, searching for answers as we do. We will follow him from the sheltered halls of his youth, through years of wandering and hardship, to the moment beneath the Bodhi tree when everything became clear. Along the way, we will touch the wisdom he left behind, truths that still shine quietly like lanterns in the dark. This is not a story to rush through. Let it unfold like a slow river under moonlight. Let the words wrap around you like a soft blanket, carrying you gently toward rest. Now close your eyes if you wish, and let us begin. In the long river of human history, few figures have shifted the very ground of human thought the way Siddhartha Gautama did. He did not step into the world to create another religion bound by rituals and dogma. In truth, Buddhism was never his invention. It blossomed naturally in the soil of his wisdom. What he brought was something deeper, something rare, a way of living that transcended religion itself. Before his time, countless faiths rose and fell, but most were tied to power, tradition, or fear. Humanity was still young, still clinging to superstitions and borrowed beliefs. Then came the Buddha, a man who, without bending his words to please or persuade, offered the raw, unfiltered truth. He did not tailor his teachings to fit the comfort of his listeners. He refused to dilute reality into something easy to swallow. To some, that might seem stern. In truth, it was the highest form of compassion, for he knew the moment truth is watered down to meet the limits of human perception, it loses its living spirit. It becomes a lifeless object, a hollow echo of what it once was. The Buddha's task was not to drag truth down to us. It was to raise us up to meet it. That was his great work. He walked the earth without ideology, without the scaffolding of rigid beliefs, because he understood every ideology is born from the mind, and the mind itself is the barrier. As long as one clings to ideals, they live in conflict caught between what they are and what they think they should be. This tug-of-war divides the heart, breeds insecurity, and leaves a person vulnerable to being led, manipulated, or owned by others. The Buddha offered a radical alternative, a life free from ideals, free from the constant tension of becoming. No God to worship, no promised paradise, no eternal reward, just the stripping away of illusions until nothing remains but clear, open space. And in that space, the ego itself dissolves. This he called nirvana. Not a faraway realm, not a glittering prize waiting at the end of effort, but the stillness that has always been here, hidden beneath the clutter we carry. Like a room so filled with furniture you can barely move, our minds are choked with possessions, memories, desires. Remove them, and the empty space reveals itself. It was never gone. The Buddha's message was startling in its simplicity. Live here, now, awake. Awareness is not a means to something else. it is the destination. Consciousness is not a path to be walked, but a state to be inhabited. He did not speak of other worlds or secret heavens. He spoke only of this world, this breath, this moment. And yet his vision was not an escape from life's dust and noise. It was a way to walk among them without letting them stain the mind. He taught that you could live in the world without letting the world live in you. It was a freedom unlike anything humanity had seen before. Not political freedom, not the freedom to do whatever one pleases, but the freedom to be untouched, to stand in the center of the storm and remain still. To meet life without clutching, without resisting, without being owned by joy or crushed by sorrow. This was the beginning of his path, not the founding of a faith, but the opening of a door to a state of being where nothing is taken and nothing needs to be. When Siddhartha Gautama was born, whispers moved through the royal court like wind through tall grass. The astrologers, robed in colors of deep blue and gold, warned the king, "Your son will be no ordinary man. He will either rule the world as a universal monarch or walk away from it all to become a wandering seeker of truth." For an aging king with no other heir, this was not a prophecy, it was a threat. The thought of his only son abandoning the throne to live among ascetics was unbearable. Determined to steer his child's fate, the king devised a plan to shield the young prince from even the faintest shadow of suffering. 3 palaces rose for him, one for each season. In summer, he was surrounded by cool gardens, fountains, and breezes scented with blossoms. In winter, warm halls glowed with golden light. During the rains, music and laughter filled the air so that storms could never dampen his spirit. Every sight of decay or hardship was erased from the prince's world. No elder was allowed to be seen in his presence. No sick or wounded were permitted near him. Even the palace gardeners were ordered to pluck fading flowers before the petals drooped. The prince would know only beauty, youth, and perfection forever. The astrologers believed that if a man has everything, he will never think to leave. But they forgot one truth: perfection without contrast becomes its own prison. By the time Siddhartha reached his late 20s, the endless parade of pleasure and beauty began to lose its flavor. Every day was the same, unchanging, flawless, and strangely lifeless. Somewhere deep inside, a restlessness stirred. He began to wonder, is this all there is? One spring day, the kingdom held its grand festival, a celebration of music, games, and splendor. The prince, dressed in regal silks, rode out in his chariot to open the festivities. The route had been carefully cleared to ensure nothing would disturb his joy. But existence, the quiet trickster, had other plans. First, he saw an old man, bent and frail, his back curved like the branch of a dying tree. White hair clung in wisps to his head, his skin folded with deep lines. The prince, startled, asked his charioteer, "What is wrong with that man?" The charioteer hesitated, glancing at the guards, then said softly, "My lord, nothing is wrong. This is what age does to us all." "All?" the prince pressed. "Even I will grow like this?" "Yes, my lord. No one escapes it." A few streets later, they came upon a small crowd gathered in grief around a still body wrapped in cloth. The air was heavy with sobs. The prince leaned forward. "Why do they weep? What has happened to this man?" "He is dead, my lord," the charioteer answered. "One day, death comes for each of us. You, me, everyone. The prince's heart felt as if a great weight had settled upon it. And then, not far ahead, a figure appeared unlike any he had seen before. Barefoot, draped in simple orange cloth, the man walked with calm, unhurried steps, carrying nothing but a begging bowl. "Who is he?" Siddhartha asked. "He is a wanderer," said the charioteer, "one who has turned away from comfort to search for what lies beyond age, beyond sickness, beyond death." The prince was silent for a long moment. Then, to the shock of his attendants, he commanded, "Turn back! I will not open the festival today. If life ends in age, sickness, and death, then I have been living in a dream. I must wake from it. Tonight, I will leave this palace behind." That night, while the moon cast pale light across the palace walls, Siddhartha kissed his sleeping wife and son farewell. Without a sound, he stepped beyond the gates into the dark unknown, no longer a prince, but a seeker. The night he left the palace, Siddhartha stepped into a world that felt both vast and uncertain. The jeweled corridors and perfumed gardens were gone. Now there was only the cool breath of the night wind, the crunch of earth beneath his feet, and the quiet pulse of his own resolve. He walked toward the unknown with a single question burning in his heart. Is there something untouched by decay, sickness, and death? For the next 6 years, he sought out every teacher and ascetic he could find. In the forests, on lonely hillsides, in hidden caves, he listened and practiced with the devotion of a man pouring himself into a single task. Some taught him breath so controlled it seemed to suspend time. Others taught stillness so deep it felt like the world had vanished. He mastered each teaching so quickly and so completely that even the masters grew restless. One by one they told him the same thing. "You have learned all we can give. If freedom has not come, you must search elsewhere." And so he went on. Finally, he turned to the most extreme of paths: self-denial. He fasted for weeks, then months. His meals shrank to a few grains of rice, then to nothing at all. His body withered, ribs pressing against his skin, eyes sinking deep into their sockets. The world became a blur of weakness. Even the smallest movement felt like lifting a mountain. One summer evening, Siddhartha tried to cross the Niranjana river. The water was shallow, but he was too weak to stand against the current. His legs gave way, and he stumbled, nearly drowning in a river he could once leap across as a boy. Clinging to a branch, he pulled himself to the bank and lay there, breath ragged. In that moment, a truth cut through his exhaustion like a blade. If I cannot even cross this stream, how can I hope to cross the vast ocean of suffering? The thought settled over him like a quiet verdict. The path of extreme self-punishment was no path at all. That night, he accepted food offered by a village girl, soft rice cooked in milk. It was the first real meal he had taken in months. As warmth spread through his body, he felt strength return, but more importantly, a clarity he had not known before. He walked to a great fig tree and sat beneath its wide, sheltering branches. There, he made a silent vow. "I will not rise from this seat until I have found the truth I seek." The moon rose full and luminous. The air was still. He let go of striving. No more clinging to methods, no more chasing visions of victory. And as his body rested, his mind settled into a stillness he had never touched before. It was as if all the restless waves within him had grown calm, and the surface of his being became a perfect mirror. Somewhere in the deep hours before dawn, the last star in the sky faded. In that moment, the I he had carried his entire life dissolved like mist under sunlight. Inside, there was only space, vast, boundless, empty, yet full. When the sun rose, Siddhartha was no longer a seeker. He was awake. He was the Buddha. In the days after his awakening, the Buddha did not rush to preach. He sat beneath the Bodhi tree, letting the quiet seep into every corner of his being. Birds came and went. Leaves stirred in the warm breeze. The river nearby flowed on without end. What he had discovered was not a secret to be hoarded. It was a way of being that could be lived in every breath. Yet he knew. Speaking of it was like trying to describe the taste of water to someone who had never been thirsty. Still, he chose to share. And what he offered the world was not a creed to memorize or a ritual to perform, but a practice simple, direct, and profound. He called it Vipassana, the art of seeing things as they truly are. In those times, meditation was thought to be a task for a chosen hour, perhaps at dawn or at dusk, when one could sit apart from the world and focus. But the Buddha's vision was different. To him, meditation was not something you do, it was something you live. Breathing, he would say, is not something you set aside an hour for. It continues whether you are aware of it or not. Meditation must be like this, woven into the fabric of your waking and sleeping. The essence of Vipassana was simple. Observe without judgment. Watch the body move, how the hand lifts a cup, how the foot takes a step. Witness each action as though you are seeing it for the first time. Then, turn that same gaze inward. Watch thoughts drift through the mind like clouds across the open sky. Some are bright, some are heavy with storm, but none are you. The moment you judge a thought, you step into it and lose the clarity of seeing. Let it pass. From thoughts, move deeper still to the emotions that rise and fall like tides. Anger, joy, sadness, longing. Each one comes, stays for a while, and leaves. Do not cling. Do not resist. In time, this witnessing becomes like a mirror, reflecting everything, holding on to nothing. And when the mirror is perfectly still, a strange alchemy occurs. The restless churning of the mind fades, and what remains is pure presence. The Buddha warned his students, do not chase some imagined goal. Do not meditate to get something. Awareness is not a tool. It is the treasure itself. Through Vipassana, life itself became the teacher. Every movement, every sensation, every thought was an opportunity to wake up. And in this waking, there was no separation between the sacred and the ordinary. Drinking water, sweeping the floor, watching the sunset, each could hold the whole truth if met with full awareness. It was a summer afternoon, the kind where the heat presses down like an invisible weight. The Buddha had been walking with his disciple Ananda along a dusty road when he paused beneath the shade of a tamarind tree. "Ananda," he said softly, "I am thirsty. Do you remember the little stream we passed a few miles back? Go and bring me water from there." Ananda bowed and turned back the way they had come. He remembered the place clearly when they had passed earlier. The water had been cool and clear, but as he approached, he heard the rumble of cartwheels. 2 ox carts had just crossed the stream, churning the bed into a swirling mess of mud and rotting leaves. Ananda frowned. He could not bring this murky water to his teacher. He returned and said, "Master, the stream is no longer fit to drink. If you can wait a little longer, I will go ahead to the river." But the Buddha only smiled. "No, Ananda. Go back to that stream. Bring me water from there." Puzzled, Ananda obeyed. When he reached the bank again, something had changed. The carts were long gone. The current had carried the leaves downstream, and the mud was beginning to settle. The water, though still faintly clouded, was calmer. He knelt, watching. The longer he waited, the more the stream cleared, until the water once again mirrored the sky. As he filled his bowl, the lesson struck him like a sudden breeze. He returned and placed the water before the Buddha. "Master," he said quietly, "I understand. The mind is like this stream. If we jump in to fight the mud, we only stir it up. But if we sit beside it and wait, it clears on its own." The Buddha's eyes shone with approval. "Yes, Ananda, this is the way of the middle path, not forcing, not clinging, not turning away, simply resting in the center, watching, without interference." From that day, Ananda understood that stillness is not the absence of life. It is the space in which life becomes clear. The middle path was not a compromise between extremes. It was the point where the pendulum stops swinging, where one can finally see the world as it truly is. In that stillness, joy and sorrow pass like the sun and moon across the same sky, leaving the watcher untouched. In the quiet of the evening, the Buddha often spoke of freedom. Not the kind won in courts or written in laws, but a freedom so deep it could not be taken away, even by death. He called it Sunyata, emptiness. To most ears, the word sounded cold, even unsettling. People imagined emptiness as a void, a barren nothing. But when the Buddha spoke, his voice carried warmth like sunlight spilling into a shadowed room. "Do not mistake emptiness for absence," he would say. "It is the space where nothing binds you. It is the openness in which everything can live." He likened it to clearing a room. At first, you remove a few chairs, perhaps a table. The space feels lighter. You take away shelves, boxes, ornaments, and the room feels larger still. Remove the walls, and suddenly there is no room at all, only the endless sky. In the same way, the practice was to remove the furniture of the mind, possessions, fears, memories, and finally, even the idea of I. What remained was not nothingness, but a boundless clarity, freedom in its purest form. In that vastness, love could bloom without clinging. Joy could shine without fear of loss. Every value worth having, compassion, wisdom, peace, found its roots there. Without freedom, they were only imitations. With freedom, they became alive. The Buddha's path was not about adding layers to the self, but peeling them away, until the one you thought you were, your titles, your stories, your sorrows, was gone. And when there was nothing left to defend, nothing left to protect, what remained was unshakable. Like the open sky, it could not be stained, cut, or contained. This was the heart of his teaching, that the greatest treasure in life is not something you acquire, but something you uncover when all else has been let go. In the years after his awakening, the Buddha could have lived in silence. He could have wandered the forests alone, resting in the stillness he had found, untouched by the world's noise. But he did not. For in the stillness of enlightenment, he discovered something else, something that flowed as naturally as breath: compassion. Before him, many mystics had reached high states of meditation and stopped there. They sat beneath trees or in mountain caves, content to bask in their own freedom. But the Buddha saw that awakening was not an ending. It was a beginning. He understood that joy, if locked away, withers, but shared, it multiplies. Just as a lamp can light countless others without losing its own flame, an awakened heart can kindle light in those still lost in darkness. And so, the Buddha made compassion inseparable from his teaching. Not pity, not charity from a place of superiority, but the simple, unshakable wish for all beings to be free from suffering. "Do not wait for enlightenment to love," he told his disciples. "If you do not learn compassion before awakening, you will not learn it afterward." For compassion was not an act. It was a way of seeing. It meant looking at another's anger and seeing the pain beneath it. It meant looking at someone's ignorance and recognizing that you too had once been blind. It meant knowing that the seed of awakening slept in everyone, no matter how deep the darkness. There was a story he told once of a man who claimed he would give his joy to the whole world, except to his neighbor, whom he despised. The Buddha only smiled and said, "Forget the world. Give it first to your neighbor." For only then could the barrier of hostility dissolve. The Buddha's compassion was not sentimental. It was steady, unshaken, and practical. It did not require others to be saints. It embraced them as they were. And in that embrace, something in them shifted. To him, enlightenment was not a private treasure, but a responsibility. The fragrance of the lotus, after all, cannot be kept from the breeze. In his final days, as the mango trees cast long shadows across the earth, and the air carried the scent of approaching rains, the Buddha gathered his disciples one last time. The years had carved gentle lines into his face, yet his eyes shone with the same quiet fire they had on the morning of his awakening. Around him sat monks, nuns, and lay followers, men and women who had walked countless miles just to hear his parting words. He did not speak of miracles. He did not offer a prophecy. He spoke only of the truth that had guided him from the beginning. "Be a lamp unto yourselves," he said. "Do not lean on the borrowed light of another. Within you there is a flame no storm can extinguish. Find it, guard it, let it guide your steps." He warned them of the danger of imitation. "To follow blindly," he said, "is to trade your life for a shadow. You may wear the robe, speak the words, even act the part of the holy, but inside you will remain a stranger to yourself." He told them that each person is born with a uniqueness no teacher can replicate, no scripture can fully describe. The path to awakening was not in becoming another Buddha, but in becoming wholly, unmistakably yourself. "A true teacher," he said, "will never make you a copy. They will push you back into your own depths until you discover the place no one else can walk for you." Some shifted uneasily, for to walk without leaning on others is to carry the full weight of your life. But the Buddha smiled gently. "This is the challenge that makes you wise. Do not fear it. The journey will be uncertain, but in that uncertainty, you will find your own sunrise." When he finished, there was no grand display, no celestial sign. only the quiet rustle of leaves and the soft breath of those who listened. And yet, in that silence, his words struck like a bell. Each listener felt it not just in their ears, but deep in the marrow of their being. The understanding that the path was theirs to walk, and theirs alone. The Buddha closed his eyes, not in farewell, but in the same deep stillness that had carried him from a sheltered prince to an awakened teacher. And though his body would pass, the light he spoke of remained waiting in each heart, ready to be kindled. And so, dear listener, we come to the end of this journey. From the quiet birth of a prince, to the long roads of seeking, to the stillness beneath the Bodhi tree, and the words that continue to echo through centuries, every step has been a reminder that the light you seek is already within you. Let these stories settle in you like soft rain on the earth. You do not need to grasp them, nor turn them over in your mind. Simply let them be. The night is deepening now. The world outside grows still. Let your breath slow. Let your body sink into the comfort beneath you. Whatever weight you carried today, you may set it down here. Know that you are exactly where you need to be. You are safe. You are enough. And as you drift into sleep, imagine the great open sky of the Buddha's freedom above you, endless, calm, and full of stars. Let each star be a reminder. The light is yours. Good night. Sleep well. May your dreams be gentle and your heart at peace.